"Drop the weapon, hands on your head." The command boomed from the shattered window. Serena looked up. SWAT, FBI, and behind them, men in military dress blues. She slowly raised her hands. She was too tired to fight. She shielded Toby with her body. "Don't shoot," Toby screamed. "She saved me." The door was battered down. Soldiers poured in, but they didn't handcuff her. They formed a perimeter. A man walked in, gray hair, 4 stars on his shoulder, General Holloway. He looked at the dead mercenaries. He looked at Rick's body. Then he looked at Serena. "Stand down," Holloway ordered his men. He walked up to Serena. He didn't ask for ID. He didn't read her rights. "Sergeant Blake," the general said softly, "we thought you were dead. Havana, 5 years ago." "I was," Serena said, her voice raspy. "I liked it better that way." "We've been tracking Ricks for months," Holloway said. "He's part of a syndicate targeting diplomatic families. You just dismantled their top wet work team with medical supplies." "They came into my hospital," Serena said simply. "They threatened my patient." Paramedics rushed in to check Toby. The boy clung to Serena's hand. "She's a superhero," Toby told the general. "She used the forbidden rhythm." The general raised an eyebrow. "The what?" "Precordial thump with a twist," Serena murmured. "Old habits." "Serena," the general said, his tone serious, "you can't stay here. Ricks has partners. Your cover is blown. The silent nurse is on every security camera feed. The footage is already leaking." Serena looked at the security monitor. The news was playing. Massacre at Mercy General. Hero nurse or rogue agent? She sighed. She looked at her scrubs, stained with blood and chemicals. "I just wanted a quiet life." "I can offer you protection," the general said. "Come back to the fold. We need people like you, people who do the hard thing." Serena looked at Toby being loaded onto a stretcher. He waved at her. She managed a small, genuine smile. "I don't take orders anymore, General." "Then what will you do?" Serena looked at the back exit. The door was open. The night air drifted in. Shifts over. 2 days later. The sun streamed into the lobby of Mercy General. The shattered glass had been replaced. The blood had been scrubbed away. But the atmosphere was different. There was a reverence in the halls. Toby sat in a wheelchair, surrounded by reporters. His father, the diplomat, stood beside him. "He saved my son," the father said into the microphones. "We want to thank her. Where is Serena Blake?" The hospital administrator stepped forward, looking flustered. We are currently looking for Miss Blake to present her with the hospital's highest honor." The camera panned to the back of the room. General Holloway stood there in civilian clothes, watching. He knew they wouldn't find her. Cut to the locker room. The new head nurse, Karen, had been fired for negligence during the crisis, was opening Serena's locker with a bolt cutter. "We need to clear this out for the temp agency," she said. The door swung open. It was empty. No scrubs, no photos, no personal items, except for one thing. Taped to the inside of the door was a single index card. On it, in neat block handwriting, was a list. 1. Fix the loose wheel on bed 4. 2. Order more O-negative blood. 3. Dr. Vance was selling patient data. Check his Cayman accounts. And at the bottom, 4. Be kind. The nurse gasped. The scene shifted to a bus station in a rainy city, hundreds of miles away. A woman in a gray hoodie sat on a bench. She looked different. Her hair was dyed black, cut short. She was reading a newspaper with the headline, "Mystery Nurse Vanishes." A man sat down next to her. He coughed, clutching his chest. He looked pale, sweaty. "Help," he wheezed. "I think, heart." People walked by, ignoring him. The woman in the hoodie hesitated. She looked at the bus that was boarding. her escape, her freedom. She looked at the man. She sighed, folding the newspaper. "Sir," she said, her voice calm, authoritative, "look at me. Breathe." She placed 2 fingers on his wrist. She checked her watch. The bus pulled away without her. She wasn't Serena Blake anymore. She was a ghost, but a ghost with a calling. Narrator voiceover. The world is full of noise, but sometimes the only thing that stands between life and death is the one person who never says a word.
Bang! Bang! Double tap. The second guard dropped. Rix grabbed Toby, holding him by the neck, using him as a human shield. He backed into the autopsy room, locking the heavy steel door. "Open it," Serena screamed, pounding on the metal. "You can't breach this, Serena," Rix's voice came through the intercom, distorted. "It's reinforced steel. I'm taking the freight lift out. The boy comes with me." Serena looked around. She was alone in the corridor with 3 dead bodies and a dying Vance. She checked Vance. He was gasping, pink froth on his lips. "Code, Vance whispered. "Save your breath," Serena said, reloading the pistol. "The oxygen," Vance wheezed, pointing a bloody hand toward the wall. "Main line." Serena looked. Running along the ceiling were the color-coded pipes, green for oxygen, yellow for air, blue for nitrous oxide. They fed directly into the autopsy room for the pneumatic tools and preservation systems. She looked at the control valve on the wall. "Warning, high pressure," the sign read. Rix was locked in a sealed room with an oxygen supply. Serena didn't need to breach the door, she just needed to change the atmosphere. She holstered the gun and ran to the maintenance closet. She grabbed a welding torch from the facilities cart. "Hang on, Toby," she whispered. She turned the oxygen valve to maximum. The pipes hissed. The pressure inside the autopsy room would be rising. Rix thought he was safe. He didn't know he was standing inside a bomb. Inside the autopsy room, Rix dragged Toby toward the rear freight elevator. "Stop crying," Rix shouted. He pressed the call button. Nothing. The lockdown had frozen the elevators. He cursed and reached for his radio. "Extract team, blow the back doors. I'm stuck in the..." He paused. The air felt different. Crisp. Cold. His ears popped. The hiss of the vents was deafening. She's flooding the room, Rix realized. Pure oxygen. It wasn't poisonous, but it made everything highly volatile. A single spark. "Smart girl," Rix muttered. He holstered his weapon. He couldn't shoot. The muzzle flash would incinerate them. Outside, Serena worked frantically. She wasn't just pumping oxygen, she was mixing. She cracked the valve for the nitrous oxide line. Inside, Rix started to feel lightheaded. Laughing gas. She was trying to knock him out. He grabbed a heavy surgical bone saw. He would cut his way out through the observation window. Crash. The glass spiderwebbed. Serena stood on the other side. She held up a road flare she had taken from the emergency kit. She ripped the cap off. Rix's eyes widened. He held up Toby. "You won't do it. You'll blow the kid up too." Serena stared at him. She looked at Toby. She put a finger to her lips. "Hold your breath." Toby understood. He clamped his mouth shut and squeezed his eyes tight. Serena didn't throw the flare. She threw a fire extinguisher through the weakened glass. It smashed through, hitting the floor. The canister ruptured. White powder exploded into the room, creating a blinding cloud. Rix coughed, blinded. The powder coated everything, neutralizing the flammability of the oxygen in the immediate area. Serena dove through the broken window. She tackled Rix. They slammed into the metal autopsy table. Rix was bigger, stronger. He threw her off like a rag doll. She hit the cabinets, ribs cracking. He pulled a knife. "No guns. Fine. I like this better." He lunged. Serena dodged, the blade slicing her scrub top. She was fast, but she was tired. She had taken a hit to the head, her vision blurred. Rix pinned her against the wall, the knife inching toward her throat. End of the line, Wraith. Serena's hand scrambled on the counter. She felt cold metal, a defibrillator pad, but the machine was unplugged, useless. Or was it? She saw the port on the wall, the pneumatic port for the bone saws. High-pressure air. She grabbed the air hose. She jammed the nozzle into the open wound on Rick's shoulder, where the glass had cut him. She pulled the trigger. Compressed air at 100 psi blasted directly into his bloodstream, an air embolism. Rix gasped, his eyes rolling back as the air bubble hit his heart instantly. He collapsed, seizing, then still. Serena dropped the hose. She slid down the wall, gasping. Toby crawled out from under the table. He hugged her, sobbing. "It's okay," she wheezed. "It's over." Then red laser dots appeared on her chest.
Before the second gunman could adjust his aim, Serena was inside his guard. She jammed the rubber tourniquet around his neck, twisting her body to use his own weight as a fulcrum. It wasn't a chokehold, it was a blood choke. 5 seconds to unconsciousness. The first gunman scrambled up, reaching for his sidearm. "Vance, now!" Serena shouted. Vance, panic-stricken, thrust the charged paddles forward blindly. He didn't hit the man's chest, he hit the metal railing of the bed the gunman was leaning against. Zap! The electricity arced. The gunman convulsed, his muscles locking up instantly from the shock, and he collapsed, twitching. Serena released the second man, who slumped to the floor, unconscious. Silence returned. Vance stood there, hyperventilating, holding the paddles like holy relics. He looked down at the unconscious mercenaries, then at Serena. She was checking the pulse of the man she choked, professional, detached. Who are you?" Vance whispered. He saw it then. As she reached for the gunman's radio, her sleeve rode up. It wasn't just the scar on her neck. On her inner forearm, previously hidden by long sleeves, was a tattoo, a black spear broken in half. Vance gasped. He recognized it from a news report years ago, a classified unit disbanded for excessive force. "You're not a nurse," Vance said, his voice trembling. "You're Project Wraith." Serena looked up. Her eyes were sad. "I was," she said. "Now I'm just the help. Grab the rifle." "I don't know how to shoot." "You don't need to shoot," Serena said, picking up the radio. "You just need to hold it while I talk to the man in charge." Serena pressed the transmit button on the mercenary's radio. "Unit 1 is down," she said, mimicking the growly distortion of the tactical voice perfectly. "Target secured, moving to extraction point on the roof." A pause, static, then a voice, smooth and cultured, replied, "Copy that, Unit 1. No loose ends." She clipped the radio to her belt. "We bought maybe 5 minutes before they realize I'm lying." She turned to Toby, who was shivering under the laundry pile. "Are you doing okay, soldier?" Toby nodded, eyes wide. "Are you a ninja?" "Something like that." She stood up, looking at Vance. He was holding the assault rifle awkwardly, barrel pointing at the floor, but there was a shift in his demeanor. His panic had settled into something else. Calculation. "The roof?" Vance asked. "Why tell them the roof?" "Misdirection. We're going to the morgue. The sub-basement tunnel connects to the city sewer grid. It's the only way out unmonitored." They moved, down the back stairs. The air grew colder, smelling of formaldehyde and damp earth. As they reached the heavy steel doors of the morgue, Vance stopped. "Wait," he said. "I hear something." Serena paused. She listened. Nothing. Her senses were dialed to 11, and she heard nothing but the hum of the cooling units. "I don't hear—" Vance swung the rifle. He didn't shoot. He slammed the butt of the heavy weapon into the back of Serena's head. The world exploded in white light. Serena stumbled, her vision swimming. She fell to one knee, instinct screaming at her to roll, to fight, but her equilibrium was shattered. "I'm sorry," Vance said, his voice shaking but strangely smug. He stepped back, leveling the gun at her. "I can't let you take him into the sewers. They offered me a deal." Serena touched the back of her head. Blood. "You sold us out?" "Not us. You." Vance pulled a burner phone from his pocket. "I texted them when you were choking that guy. They don't want the boy dead, Serena. They want him alive. He's the leverage. They just want the witness protection detail eliminated. That's you."
Vance, look at the boy, Serena rasped, fighting the darkness closing in on her vision. They will kill him once they have what they want. No, Vance shouted, convincing himself. They promised. I get the chief of medicine position at St. Luke's. I get a clean slate. I just need to hand over the package. The elevator dinged. The doors slid open. 4 more men stepped out. The leader, a towering man with a scar across his nose, smiled at Vance. Good work, doctor. I did it. Here she is. Now, about my payment. The leader raised his pistol and shot Vance in the chest. Vance looked down, surprised, before crumbling to the floor. Loose ends, the leader muttered. He looked at Serena, who was struggling to stand. Hello, Wraith. Long time. Serena watched Vance fall. She felt no satisfaction, only the cold calculus of survival. She was concussed, unarmed, and facing 4 armed men in a dead-end corridor. Commander Ricks, Serena spat, blood trickling down her neck. She recognized the leader, ex-CIA, mercenary, sadist. It's just business, Serena, Ricks smiled, stepping over Vance's body. The boy's father has information that compromises my employers. We take the boy, the father stays quiet. Simple. He gestured to his men. Grab the kid, finish her. 2 men moved toward the Toby. The boy screamed. That scream cut through Serena's concussion like a smelling salt. She was on her knees, helpless, but she was in the morgue's anteroom. She knew this room. She knew what was on the counter next to her. A jar of formalin and a tray of scalpels. As the executioner raised his gun to her forehead, Serena shattered the jar against the floor. Pungent, eye-watering chemical fumes exploded into the air. The men coughed, recoiling. Serena didn't stand. She lunged low. She grabbed a scalpel from the falling tray. It was small, sharp, surgical. She slashed the Achilles tendon of the man in front of her. He screamed and collapsed. She used his falling body as a shield. Bullets sparked against the floor. She rolled, grabbing the dead man's pistol.
We need to hide. Dr. Vance scrambled after them, his arrogance replaced by a pathetic, wailish gasping. He grabbed the side of the gurney, slowing them down. The basement! The panic room! Too obvious, Serena said, not breaking stride. They have the floor plans. They'll sweep the secure zones first. I'm the chief of surgery, Vance shrieked, hysteria rising. You listen to me. Serena stopped dead. She grabbed Vance by the lapels of his expensive white coat and slammed him against the wall. The force knocked the wind out of him. Listen to me, Serena said. Her eyes were dark voids. Those aren't shooters. They are cleaners. They don't leave witnesses. You are dead weight. If you want to live, you do exactly what I say. Do you understand? Vance nodded, terrified. He had never seen a human look so dangerous. Good. Take his feet. They pushed the gurney toward the service elevator, but the panel was dark. The power had been cut to the lifts. Stairs, Serena commanded. He can't move, Vance cried. He's post-arrest. Then we carry him. Serena scooped Toby up. He was 10, but small for his age. She held him in a fireman's carry, effortless, balancing his weight against her core. My chest hurts, Toby whimpered, groggy. I know. Keep your eyes closed, Toby. Count to 100. They hit the stairwell. Serena took the stairs 2 at a time, moving with a fluid, silent grace that defied the clunky hospital clog she wore. Vance stumbled behind her, panting, loud as a freight train. Quiet, she hissed without turning around. They reached the 3rd floor, the ICU. It was dark. The backup generators hummed, casting long, eerie shadows. Serena didn't go into a room. She went to the linen closet. She kicked the door open and dumped the sheets out. Get in, she told Toby. She covered him with clean blankets, making him look like a pile of laundry. She turned to Vance. Give me your phone. Why? Because they are tracking the GPS signal. Vance hesitated. Serena snatched it from his hand. She smashed it against the wall, shattering the screen, then tossed the pieces down the laundry chute. Hey, Vance protested. Shh, Serena held up a hand. She tilted her head, her ear twitching. Footsteps, heavy boots on the stairs below. They were coming up.
"They're sweeping floor by floor," Serena whispered. "We need a weapon." She looked around. A mop bucket, a fire extinguisher, and a crash cart. "Dr. Vance," Serena said, her voice calm, "prepare the defibrillator." Vance stared at the crash cart, his hands trembling so hard the plastic paddles clattered against the machine. "We can't fight them with this," he hissed. "They have assault rifles. This is suicide." "It's physics," Serena corrected, stripping a thick rubber tourniquet from a drawer. She wound it around her forearm, testing the tension. "Charge to 360 joules. Do not discharge until I say." She moved to the doorway. The darkness of the ICU corridor was her ally. She reached up and unscrewed the bulb of the emergency light above them, plunging their corner into absolute pitch black. The footsteps grew louder. Crunch, crunch, broken glass under tactical boots. Serena closed her eyes. She didn't need to see. She could hear the friction of fabric, the shifting of weight. 2 targets, pointmen. "Clear left," a distorted voice crackled through a mask. "Clear right, moving to nurse's station." They were 10 feet away. Serena signaled Vance. "Now!" Vance fumbled. The machine let out a high-pitched whine as it charged. "Wee!" The sound was a beacon in the silence. "Contact front," the gunman shouted, swinging his weapon toward the noise. That was the plan. They were looking at the noise. They weren't looking at the floor. Serena slid out from the darkness, low, like a striking cobra. She didn't go for the gun. She went for the ankle. She hooked the lead gunman's boot and yanked. He crashed down, his rifle clattering away.
A reminder. She wasn't slow. She was dormant. Back in the present, the memory shattered. The ER was in chaos. 2 security guards had Serena pinned against the wall. The metal handcuffs bit into her wrists. Dr. Vance was shouting into a phone, likely legal or risk management. Toby, the boy she had just revived, was crying softly, his vitals stabilizing. But no one was looking at the miracle. They were looking at the violent nurse. "Get her out of here," Vance spat. "Throw her in the holding room until the police arrive. I want her license revoked by morning." The guards shoved her forward. Serena didn't resist. She kept her head down, her body limp. Resistance would trigger muscle memory she was trying to suppress. As they dragged her toward the double doors, the hospital PA system chimed. It wasn't a code blue. It wasn't a fire alarm. It was a sound Serena hadn't heard in 5 years, a specific, rhythmic buzzer. Code Silver, active shooter. The buzzer didn't stop. It droned, a mechanical heartbeat of panic. "Lockdown!" someone screamed from the triage desk. "Seal the doors!" The 2 security guards holding Serena froze. Their grip on her arms slackened. They were mall cops, rent-a-guards used to breaking up drunk fights, not handling active shooters. Fear instantly drained the blood from their faces. "What do we do?" the younger guard stammered, his hand shaking as he reached for a radio that was already screaming with static. "Let me go," Serena said. Her voice was no longer the whisper of the bullied nurse. It was flat, hard, command presence. "Shut up," the older guard snapped, though his eyes darted wildly toward the main entrance. Pop, pop, pop. The sounds were muffled but unmistakable. Suppressed gunfire, low caliber, high velocity, professional. This wasn't a disgruntled patient with a shotgun. This was a hit squad. Dr. Vance, who had been screaming about lawsuits seconds ago, was now cowering behind the nurse's station, using a clipboard as a shield. "They're coming for the boy," Serena said. She didn't guess, she knew. Toby, the boy she saved. He wasn't just a random case. She had seen his chart earlier. No insurance info, redacted address, blood type O negative. And now, men with silencers were breaching the ER moments after his heart stopped. "Silence," Vance hissed, crawling on the floor. "Someone turn off the lights." The main ER doors burst open. 3 men entered.
They wore black tactical gear, no insignias. Gas masks obscured their faces. They moved in a V formation, weapons raised. They didn't spray the room, they scanned. They were looking for a target. The lead gunman raised a hand. They stopped. He pointed directly at bed 4, at Toby. Serena looked at the guards. They were paralyzed. The gunman raised his rifle. "Down!" Serena shouted. She didn't wait for permission. She dropped her center of gravity and swept her leg back. It wasn't a nurse's move. It was a sweep kick that took the younger guard's legs out from under him. As he fell, Serena spun, presenting her handcuffed wrists to his belt. She wasn't attacking him. She was accessing his keyring. With a dexterity that blurred in the low light, she snagged the handcuff key. Click. The metal handcuffs fell to the floor. The gunman opened fire. Glass shattered. Monitors exploded. Sparks rained down like fireworks. Serena didn't run away. She ran toward the boy. She slid across the polished floor, grabbing the underside of Toby's gurney. "Hang on, kid," she whispered. She kicked the brake release. The gurney surged forward, crashing through the double doors of the trauma bay just as bullets chewed up the mattress where Toby's head had been a second ago. The gurney careened into the hallway, wheels screeching against the linoleum. Serena didn't push from the back. She pulled from the front, steering with one hand while her other hand ripped IV lines that would snag them.
The monitor screamed a singular, piercing tone. It was the sound of a nightmare realized. 10-year-old Toby's chest was still. His skin, a translucent marble white, was rapidly turning gray. The chaotic symphony of the ER at Mercy General faded into a dull roar, suffocated by the gravity of bed 4. Dr. Vance, the lead trauma surgeon, stepped back, stripping off his latex gloves with a snap of finality. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his eyes were cold, detached. He looked at the clock on the wall. "Call it," Vance barked, his voice devoid of empathy. "Time of death, 02:14 a.m. "No!" A whisper cut through the silence. It wasn't the mother. It was Serena Blake, the invisible night nurse, the one who restocked gauzes and mopped up spillages while the residents flirted in the break room. She stood at the foot of the bed, her eyes scanning the monitor, then Toby's neck. "Nurse Blake, step away," Vance sneered, already reaching for his clipboard. "The heart is blown. It's over. Don't make a scene." Serena didn't move. Her pupils dilated, shifting from tired employee to something predatory. She saw what Vance missed, the erratic flutter in the jugular, a phantom rhythm. "He's in a neurostasis lock," Serena said, her voice dropping an octave, losing its usual meekness. "Standard compressions won't work. He needs the strike." "The what? Are you insane?" Vance laughed, a cruel, sharp sound. "Get security. She's losing it." Serena moved. She didn't walk, she blurred. Before Vance could blink, she was over the boy. She didn't grab the paddles, she didn't start CPR. She balled her hand into a rigid, unnatural fist, knuckles protruding like jagged stones. She raised her arm. "Stop her!" Vance screamed. Serena drove her fist down. It wasn't a thump. It was a precise, violent impact directly over the sternum, angled upward. A sickening crack echoed through the bay. It looked like murder. It looked like she had just crushed the dead boy's chest cavity. The room gasped. A security guard lunged forward, grabbing Serena's shoulder. Then a sound. Thump, thump. The monitor hiccuped. A jagged green line shot up. Then another. Thump, thump. Toby's back arched off the mattress. He sucked in a desperate, ragged breath, his eyes flying open, terrified and alive. Serena stood back, her face a mask of stone. She didn't smile. She checked her watch. Vance stared at the monitor, then at Serena. His shock curdled into rage. He pointed a trembling finger at her face. "You broke his sternum," Vance roared, ignoring the living boy. "That was an assault. You just performed an illegal, non-medical procedure on a corpse. Security, arrest this woman immediately."
3 hours earlier, Serena had been on her knees. The floor of the break room was sticky with spilled coffee and something that smelled like stale donuts. Head nurse Karen stood over her, tapping a perfectly manicured fingernail against her clipboard. "You missed a spot, Blake, and honestly, fix your scrubs. You look like you slept in a dumpster." Serena didn't argue. She didn't mention that she had just pulled a double shift because Karen's favorite nurse called out sick to go to a concert. She just nodded, her eyes fixed on the linoleum tiles. "Yes, Karen. And don't forget to restock the supply closet in the East Wing. Dr. Vance complained he couldn't find the size 7 gloves. If I hear one more complaint about you, Serena, you're out. You're lucky Mercy General hires charity cases." Serena squeezed the sponge. The water turned gray. She had been here for 6 months. In that time, she had been treated like furniture. The doctors looked through her. The residents mocked her silence. To them, she was slow, unambitious, a 40-year-old nurse with no family, no history, and a resume that had a 10-year gap simply labeled private sector care. She finished cleaning the floor and walked to the locker room. She opened her locker, revealing a small, cracked mirror. She looked at her reflection. She looked tired, but under the fluorescent hum, she traced the faint white scar line running from behind her ear down to her collarbone.